Hello, hello. Guys, when I started saying hello, I didn't know when I was going to stop. I literally, mid hellos, was like, what am I doing? Why am I still going with this? Anyways, welcome back to Love That. I am so excited to chat with you guys today. I have an incredible guest on the show, Katie Prouty. She is a book influencer and blogger. She is part of the reason that I am obsessed with reading. I literally have used her as like my guide for what to read for literally forever. And she's just been a huge inspiration to me to continue to like pick up books and continue to dive into the fiction world. I'm a really big believer in reading fiction. We talk about it a little bit on the show, but it's just such a good way to like turn off your brain without melting into like a TV show or social media. So it was just so fun to talk to her. You guys know I've been obsessed with my Kindle and obsessed with reading lately. So it just felt like a perfect time to have Katie on the show and chat through all things books and reading. She has like such a unique expertise because she's very involved in the book community and gets to connect with publishers and authors because of what she does. She is a mom. She is a speech and language pathologist, and she does it all and finds time to read with all of that she has going on, which is so incredible and so inspiring. We all have time to read, you guys, and that is what I'm taking away from this episode. Before we hop into my interview with Katie, I do want to do my what I'm loving this week. I am loving making sourdough. You guys, this is not a phase. It is not a phase. I am past pandemic sourdough bread making, and I am full sending on lifelong sourdough bread making. Sourdough is like the goat cheese of gluten. It is a lot easier to process. And so I love eating sourdough bread because I'm a little bit sensitive to gluten. And it's just been really fun because Connor and I have been doing it together, and like we don't have a child or a dog. And so we take care of our little sourdough starter and feed it every day, and it is quite the experience. And we have been making some amazing sourdough. We're going to make some sourdough muffins coming up here soon, and it's just been a great outlet for us, and really nice to put our hands to something and create something and then be able to enjoy it. So that is my what I'm loving for the week. And without further ado, please welcome Katie Prouty to the show. Hi, Katie. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here and talk about all things books. How's it going?
Good. I'm excited to be here and talk about all things books. I love books.
I love books too. And that's why I was like so excited to have you on the show. I literally have been talking about reading nonstop, and your Instagram has been like part of my motivation for starting reading again.
Yeah, like years ago too. I remember when you like first reached out to me, it was probably like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I literally forgot about that. I have been on such a journey with reading, and now I'm like, yeah, I remember I went through like 2 years ago. I was like super into it and then not into it at all. And now I'm like, since I got my Kindle, I'm like way back on the train. But you have been there for the whole journey.
I haven't, like, there hasn't been like a lull, but I know that, there's seasons of life, and that's normal. You go through seasons of reading and not reading.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk to you about like how your journey with reading has been. And I feel like so many people right now are trying to get into reading, and there's definitely reading is kind of trendy right now, I feel like. So I want to talk to you about how you got into reading. Have you always been a reader, or did reading kind of find you at a certain time in your life, or what has that been like for you?
Yeah. So I feel like, like going back to the seasons of life, I feel like I kind of have always been a reader, but short. So I'll get into, like, it started with Twilight, like years and years
Amazing.
ago, like so long ago. And then I watched the movie, and then I read all of the books. And the same with like the Hunger Games. I watched the first movie, and then I was like, I have to read all of the books. So any of those like big blockbuster movies, I've wanted to read the books after. And then I feel like I kind of pick up a couple, and then it kind of trickled off. But then I think it was 2019 or so. I really noticed I was on my phone too much, and I didn't like it. I felt like it was affecting my sleep. It was affecting my mental health. It was affecting my kids. It was just like an unhealthy amount of time spent on my phone. And I was like, okay, I need to just put my phone down and do something different. And so I thought, okay, why don't I pick up a book? Because I didn't want to go to TV at that point. I needed to do something that was non-electronic.
Mm-hmm.
So then I got into reading. And also it was around the time when To All the Boys I Loved Before came out, and I watched the movie and I was obsessed with it. So then I like binge read all of the books, and that kind of got me back into reading again. So I feel like it starts with the movie, and then I go into books. So it was kind of both of those things. I really just wanted to read for my mental health, and because I was obsessed with To All the Boys I Loved Before, and I'm still obsessed with Jenny Han and everything she does. So that's kind of how my reading journey started, and I'm still reading a lot, and now I'm blogging about it, and I'm on influencer teams with publishers and indie publishers. So I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy promoting books, and I think it's a positive thing because it's good for your mental health. It's like a self-care thing. So
Yeah, I love that so much. I feel like that's like so many people's journey with reading is like the realization of, oh my gosh, I'm on my phone so much. Like for me, it was a few years ago when I started reading a lot. It was because I was like on social media a ton. So I downloaded like the Kindle app on my phone, and I was like, well, at least if I'm on my phone, I'm going to be reading something.
yes.
But then, yeah, you really feel that like that draw towards I need to get away from screens, and it can't be TV, like it can't be anything. It has to be a book. But I feel like books are so cool because they're like the only way that you can still kind of turn your brain off a little bit, but you're not having to engage with like a screen.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which Kindle do you have? Which one did you get?
I have the Paperwhite, like the 2018 one.
Yeah, I love the Paperwhite. That one is my favorite because it's matte, and so it looks like paper. It's so awesome. I love it. And it's got that front light, so it doesn't like singe your eyes or make your eyes hurt. So that's how I always, sell it to people. I'm like, even if you are like, I'm going to download the Kindle app on my iPad. I'm like, no, the iPad, it's so bad for your eyes. You got to get the Paperwhite.
Yes, I feel like the Paperwhite has been a game changer for my reading because I can read in bed and it doesn't like keep me awake because it has whatever the Paperwhite magic is, where it has the backlight, but it isn't like the crazy blue light like a phone would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, wait. So you brought up that movies make you want to read books, and I want to hear your philosophy on like, do you have to read the book first, or are you the kind of person where you're like, oh, I can watch the movie and then read the book and it's still like a magical experience?
I feel like I'm not a picky reader. I don't think I'm like a critique reader. Like some people are, they talk about what they like and what they don't like. I'm not really like that. I just kind of talk about what I like, and then I'll do like bullet points. Like, this is what's in the book. If this sounds like something that interests you, read it. But as for movies, I kind of go both ways. Sometimes I've read the books before the series, like The Summer I Turned Pretty. I read all 3 of those, and then the series just came out. But I think it just depends.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to go their way.
I want to talk about The Summer I Turned Pretty because we like briefly chatted about this in our DMs, but I read the book before the series came out. Well, the series came out and I was like, I'm going to read the book before I watch it. But I feel like the show was so different than the book. Did you feel like that?
Okay, so it's been a while since I read it, and I should have reread it. And a lot of people, I think, would agree with you that the show is different. And I saw some differences, but I was trying to focus on what was the same. So I went and I found the scenes and even like the same lines that were in the show, and I like compared them. And so I'm like trying to focus on what's the same. But yeah, there were some differences. They made some changes, and I think for me, did you read the second book yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so I think the second book and the second season will be like the determining factor.
Okay.
Because there's a lot that happens in that second book. And so I'm just curious to see how they play that out. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I feel like the show was really, really different, but I actually really appreciated the way they did it because I felt like they had to add some things in order to like tell the story well without it just being like a straight up narrator reading the story to you.
Yeah.
But so I actually really enjoyed it, but I feel like I've heard of people not reading the first book and just skipping over it to start reading the second one because they watch the show. And I'm like, no, don't do it because it's so different, I feel like. But I'm so excited for the second one. I am on the wait list at the library for it. And I think I have to wait like 7 more weeks for it. Yeah, it's all the rage. But
yes, it is. It's popular right now. And I think they just started filming the second season.
Oh, yay. Okay, are you team Jeremiah or team Conrad?
Conrad.
Yeah.
All the way. Yeah.
All
what about you?
Okay, well, I feel like you have a unique perspective because you've read all of them. I'm team Conrad for the sake that I like want her to be with who she wants to be with, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like just going off the first book and the first season of the show, I feel like I like Jeremiah more as a person because they give you more reason to like him. Because we just know angsty Conrad in the first book until like the very, very end when you start to see a little bit of his like sweetheart come out. But yeah, so I'm like kind of both. I'm team Conrad though, in the sense that like I would hate for her to settle for somebody that she didn't actually want to be with, you know?
Yeah, I think when I was reading the books, because it's a trilogy, so it's 3, I think I went through like waves. I was, because kind of like you, she is interested in Conrad. So I was like, okay, Conrad. And then I went, Jeremiah, but I'm like, but still holding out for Conrad. And then Conrad, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to see like more of Conrad's sweet side in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
But okay, shifting gears. This is one of my burning questions for you because this is something that I always wonder about and I feel like you would have a really good answer to. Okay. But how long do you give a book before you give up on it? Like, are you the kind of person that is like, if I start a book, I have to finish it? Or at what point can you just say like, this book isn't working for me?
So in the book community, it's called DNF, does not finish. I think it's like a sports term. I don't know why they use it, but people will say DNF, did not finish. I can't do that. It makes me feel like a quitter. So I just push through. And I think there's only been 2 books in my entire like reading years that I've actually not finished. And it's either like the content, I was unaware of like content. And so I didn't want to read that just because it wasn't for me. But it makes me feel like a quitter and I don't want to feel like a quitter. So I try and push through even though it's like skimming.
Yeah.
But other people do it. They'll give it like 50% and some people give it like 30%. And if they're not feeling it or, then they'll stop reading it and they'll move on, which I get. Like they have valid reasons. It's just not what they want to read or, so.
Yeah. I always wonder about that because I also feel like a quitter if I stop reading a book. But like, for example, I was reading, gosh, I wish I could remember the name of it, but maybe I won't even say it because I don't want to turn anybody off from the book that would like it. But I was reading this book that was so long, like the chapters were so long. And when it's like you want the feeling of finishing a chapter in the moment that you sit down and read at least one chapter. These were like so long. You could not finish them in like an hour of reading.
Yeah. I know that. And I hate that, especially if like, because I get most of my reading done at night. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're like, all right, one more chapter, and then you look and it's like 20 pages and you're like, it's already like 10:30. I can't keep going. And I hate falling
Mm-hmm.
asleep in the middle of the chapter. I'm not a person who can just like stop in the middle of the chapter. I have to like keep going. I don't know why. I think it's my personality.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I cannot just like stop mid-page, stop mid-chapter, but this particular book, it was that way. And I was waiting on, I knew I was going to read The Summer I Turned Pretty next, and I wasn't watching the show because I hadn't read it yet. And I was like, I'm not even really enjoying this book. The chapters are so long. And so that's like the first book in a long time that I stopped 50% of the way through because I was like, I genuinely don't know what the other 50% could give me at this point. But it made me very sad. And it's literally still sitting in my Kindle library. And I'm like, should I go back and finish it? So maybe I will if I read.
Yeah, you can. You could,
But
pause. The hardest thing for me with pausing, or I feel like if I take a long time to read a book, because I can quickly get through
mm-hmm.
like 300 pages in like 2 or 3 days. But if I take longer than that, I feel like it's harder to connect to the characters, connect to the story, and then you don't get as like, the full experience.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
kind of push through. So picking back up sometimes is hard for me.
Me too. Well, even now I'm like, I don't even remember where I left off in that book. I would probably have to go backwards a little bit,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Wait, so I'm curious how many books you read because I feel like every time I see you on Instagram, you always are reading a new book. So how many books do you read like on average in let's say a month?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It depends. Like, especially if I'm like really into a book, like I just finished Lovely War and it was a big book. It was like almost
Mm-hmm.
100 pages, but I read it pretty quick. I read that in like maybe 3 days. And I read like,
Wow.
The Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy. I read that in two. So it just
Wait,
depends.
the whole trilogy.
Yeah, I read all three books in 2 days with my best
Wow.
friend. My best friend and I read them together and we were just like we stayed up so late, like,
Oh
but
my
yeah, so it just
gosh.
depends. And it depends on how, like, what I have going on during the week. But I don't know, maybe I could get like 10 books in a month.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is crazy. I definitely am like one every 3 months. So
That's
I do
great,
need to do
though.
some
That's good
catching up.
for you.
Thank you. I do need to do some catching up with you though. I'd love to be reading like two a month. At the beginning of the year, I was reading two a month and that was good. But I
Yeah.
think that like, I mean, I always have a problem with, oh, I don't have enough time to read. And I feel like that's where a lot of people are at. How do
Mhm.
you, because you're a mom, you work full
Mhm.
time, I
Mhm.
think full time, right?
Part-time. So
Part
I
time.
work.
You work
Yeah, I
and
work.
you're a
I work.
mom.
Yeah.
You work and you're a mom and you have all of these things going on. Like, how do you create time for reading?
I think the biggest thing is putting your phone away, like going back to your phone, because your phone is such a distraction. And like you could spend like an hour on your phone, but it feels like 10 minutes. And you're like, what? I just wasted an
Mm-hmm.
hour on my phone. I thought I've only been like looking at it for 10 minutes. Whereas like if you're reading for an hour and you're like, whoa, it's this late already. It's like, so I think putting your phone down. So I try and set a limit for myself. So my kids go to bed at like 7:30 and I'll give myself like 30 minutes just to, tool around on my phone. Phones aren't bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just having a healthy boundary with your phone, I think for me is what is really important. So I'll put it away. I'll leave it charging on my nightstand, and then just focus on reading. And then I just read for hours.
Hours. I love that.
Mhm.
So mostly at night you're reading.
Mhm.
I feel like it's such a nice way to like end the day and
Yeah.
just relax. And it honestly does like put me to sleep when I read
Yeah,
before bed. It's
it
amazing.
does. If I'm exhausted, I'll fall asleep like with my book in my hand.
I can like picture it like just
Yeah,
book on the
it's like
face.
falls on my face or like the Kindle. And it's like, ow.
That is so funny. I love that. Um, I just want to know, like, what are you reading right now? What are you excited about? Do you ever get bored with fiction books? Do they ever feel repetitive? It's a lot of questions, but
It is a lot of questions. I'm reading, it's called Twice Shy by Sarah Hogel. And she is a rom-com writer, and I love romantic comedies. It's my favorite genre because I just want to laugh when I'm reading a book. And I love her debut novel was You Deserve Each Other, and that one was really good. And so this is her sophomore novel, which is her second novel. So I'm halfway through that. Well, not halfway. I'm probably like 100 pages into it, and it's good. I like laughing. My favorite genre.
Do you ever feel like books get repetitive?
Not really. I mean, there's like certain like tropes, that are included in books like fake dating, enemies to lovers, like that. But I feel like each author puts their own spin on it. Sometimes like I'll come across a book, unfortunately, that'll be like that's from this book, or like I'm like, wait a minute, that's the same. But usually they'll put their own spin on the trope.
Yeah. But, okay. That's like, I think one of the bigger things that I've had a hard time with in fiction is like finding good books to read, and then also like not always being able to like guess exactly how it's going to end or something like that, but I think that it is because a lot of these like storylines are kind of similar, but then the spin the author puts on it is like always the interesting part, I feel like.
I think if you like switch up, like I like to read a lot of different, like rom-com obviously is my favorite, but then I really like historical fiction. I like reading mystery and thriller, but some of the adult mystery and thriller are like too scary or too like violent for my preference. So I think if you like switch it up, like if you're starting to notice like, oh, these are getting repetitive, like let's add a mystery in, or let's try historical fiction, or something like that. That way it doesn't feel repetitive.
Yeah. But, I love that idea because it feels so simple. Like, yeah, of course you would just switch it up. But I feel like I'm the same way. Like I love a like romance, a rom-com. And so I'm only ever looking for those books. And so I don't even really ever think. I also get very stressed by like thrillers and stuff like that. So I don't ever think like there might be a mild mystery I could read.
Yeah. Young adult usually is pretty mild because, the content is more for a young adult. I know some people as adults don't enjoy reading young adult because it's typically more drama, like family dynamic stuff, but I like it. I like the drama. I think it's entertaining.
I do too. Yeah, I love a young adult anything. Like I watch TV. I'm into like all the young adult pop culture. I don't know why I wouldn't love a young adult book too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So am I. I love it.
How do you find like good books to read? I know that because of what you do, like sometimes they just come to you, but how do you sift through like the good books from the ones that are not so great?
There's definitely certain publishers that I love, like Berkeley Publishers, who is Emily Henry. I love her books, and so I love a lot of the books her publisher puts out. Lynn Painter is another author who's with Berkeley, but she also writes young adult novels with Simon Teen. So I feel like if you find publishers and you find authors, and you kind of hang on to your favorite authors, that's how you know you're going to get a good book. So authors, publishers, and then sometimes reading other people's reviews. I don't like to read reviews much anymore because I think it can sway your opinion about a book, and I don't want to be swayed. I want to read a book and find out if I like it versus reading somebody's review and they say, oh, I didn't like it or I didn't enjoy it, but maybe you will, but that doesn't make me want to read it,
Right.
So I don't write my reviews that way. I write what I like. And then, obviously it might not be a perfect book, but somebody else should pick it up and find that out for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. I never really thought to look at publishers because I am the kind of person where like I read a good book and then I just devour everything by that author, and then
Yeah.
I have to play the waiting game for
Yeah.
sometimes years for
Yeah.
another one.
I know,
But
especially if it's like a debut author and they have no backlist, and then you can't go back and read any of their books, and you're like, no.
yes, exactly. So I love the idea of doing a publisher. I guess that makes perfect sense. I mean, I don't know a lot about the publishing world outside of what my fiction books that I read, like when I was reading Beach Read, they talk about like publisher life and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I can imagine they're picking up books in a similar vein to
Mhm.
other authors. So that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody wants to like get into reading, what are like three books you'd recommend they try fiction reading?
Okay. In any genre or
Yeah, any genre.
okay, I would say anything from Sarah Adams. She's amazing. She's hysterical. All her books just make you laugh, make you swoon. Her characters are so sweet and so relatable. And I think content wise is very like appropriate. No explicit content or anything. So she's a really good place to start if you're looking for a rom-com book. For historical fiction, I love Amy Harmon. Where the Lost Wander and What the Wind Knows are two amazing historical fiction books. Let's see, mystery, I love, and thriller. I read more young adult, so these would be young adult. I Killed Zoe Spanos by Kit Frick is amazing. There's one more. Oh, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, The Inheritance Game is a trilogy, and the third book is coming out soon. That one is really good also.
Okay. I love that. I've never heard of any of these. No, that's like perfect because I've never heard of any of these. And I feel like I just read anything popular. And
Mhm.
so, which I'm sure that those are popular and I just haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But I read like anything that's like trending or on Book Talk or
Yeah,
whatever.
the she like went book talk by Sarah Adams. That one went like book talk viral.
Oh, okay.
And so Sarah was it, or she still is an indie author, and she published it herself, and then she actually
Cool.
got picked up by Random House, and they republished the cheat sheet as a special edition with a question and answer from Sarah in the back. And now she has a new series by her publisher coming out in September. So that's really cool that,
Wow.
it went viral and then got picked up. So
Hmm.
now she's
Yeah.
both. She does traditional publishing and indie independent.
That is so cool. I feel like social media has just given like, yeah, we talk about the negatives and stuff, but like also it's given such an awesome opportunity to like discover more. And so
Yeah.
that is just such a cool story. I had no
Yeah.
idea about that. I can't
Yeah.
wait to read that book. That
Yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we wrap up, I have to ask you, I ask every guest, what you're loving right now. It can be anything, doesn't have to even have to do with books or anything. Just what are you loving?
Okay. Well, my personality is like, I get obsessed with things. I have OCD with like emphasis on the obsessive.
Okay.
And it's this like neon orange bikini that I found off Amazon that I'm obsessed with. And my mom cleaned out her closet and gave me her vintage Louis Vuitton purse. And it's so
Wow.
cute. So I love both of those things. Those are
That's
my
amazing.
two things that I am obsessed with right now.
Wow, I love that. What a good find, a vintage purse in the closet.
Yes,
Amazing.
I know. And that she still has it. Like I give away stuff. I think I need to start holding on to stuff like my mom, because she had this purse from like the 90s.
Hmm.
And it's so cute. And she has all these old clothes that are vintage now.
Yeah, now that like vintage has been taking off. I mean, vintage has always been a thing, but I feel like vintage right now is very much a thing. It's making me also realize like I need to hold on to some stuff in my closet. Obviously, like my H&M pieces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are goodbye. But like I have a pair of Levi's that I've had for years that don't fit me anymore. And every time I'm doing a closet clean out, I'm like, should I get rid of them? And then I'm like, if I have a daughter at any point in my life, And she knows that I had Levi's when I was 23 and I didn't keep them for her. That would be
You
sad.
gotta keep them. Well, and what if you never know? What if you fit in them again?
Yeah, exactly. That would be nice.
Yeah.
And then I have my vintage Levi's because I held on to them for myself.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, tell everybody where they can find you and get all your book suggestions and all of the gold that you post on the internet.
Yeah. So I mostly post, my primary platform would be Instagram, and my handle is at Katie Prouty. So it's just first and last name. And my blog is Katie's Crazy Book Obsession. Say that 3 times fast. And I post all of my reviews there.
I love it. Awesome. I'll link all of that stuff in the description as well, so it's easy to find. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was so fun. I am so excited. I'm so excited to do all the reading after this.
Yes, I can't wait to hear all of your thoughts, and I hope you enjoy them.
Yes, I will tell you. I'm literally going to just start sending you all my book thoughts.
Yes, every time. Do it.
I will.
My DMs are open. I love talking.
Amazing. I love that. Awesome. Well, thanks, Katie.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. And thank you again, Katie, for being on the show. I seriously loved having this conversation, and I'm just feeling so inspired to pick up some more books and kind of venture out there in what I've been reading. I definitely have been in a little bit of a slump with my reading. So I'm excited to venture out a little bit and find some new books. Katie gave so many amazing suggestions. I will link all of Katie's info below, like I mentioned, and you will also be able to find my Instagram down in the description as well. If you have a second, will you please leave a review and rate the show? It is the #1 way you can support the podcast. And I really appreciate it when you guys do that. I know some of you guys have been doing that, and I really love you for it. Anyways, love you guys so much. I gotta stop singing into this microphone. I don't even sound good when I sing into this microphone. Anyways, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys on Wednesday.